Hi, I'm Dr. Brian Babcock, and welcome to our continuing lectures on interpreting narrative. In the past lectures, you looked at plot, time, and point of view. In this lecture, we're going to conclude our analysis of narrative by looking at character development, dialogue, and just how different parts of narrative are put together. So to begin, let's look at character development. When interpreting a narrative account, we begin by analyzing the characters. It is important to note that while a character may be a real person, with regard to the literary design of a narrative, they are merely a character. We first distinguish between flat and round characters. Flat characters convey a single quality or trait. They do not stand as individual. These characters include two classes. The first is a type character, who is a single and often stereotypical motivated individual. An example of that is found in 1 Samuel 25 and is Abigail. In this passage, Abigail is portrayed as the perfect wife. Nothing more, just one-dimensional. A second category of flat character is the agent. This character is present solely to move the plot forward. An example of this type of character would include Bathsheba in 2 Samuel chapter 11 and 12, where David sends for her and has an affair with Bathsheba. She has few, if any, lines. She does not have a motivation upon her own. She merely is there as the object of David's action. In contrast, round characters are fully developed. These characters appear as real and complex people. They portray multiple traits, often contradicting each other. A quick example would be Mahal, one of David's wife. She is fully described and has thoughts and feelings of her own in 1 Samuel 18 and 19. It is important to note that a character may be flat in one account and round in another. One example is Bathsheba, who is flat in the affair with David, and yet fully developed as she becomes queen. So how does an author develop these characters? The interpretation of this process is called characterization. First, be attentive to the description of the characters. As a general rule, the Bible gives very little description of people or surroundings. The text is much more concerned with action and dialogue, both of which move the plot forward. Therefore, if the narrator pauses to tell us about someone, what they're wearing, or what they look like, then these details are likely important to the plot. Stay alert and make a note for later interpretation. For instance, in the beginning of 1 Samuel, we learn that Eli is old and fat, and that his sight is failing. Why does the author tell us this, but not tell us what he's wearing or how tall he is? Later, we learn that Saul is tall, but not what he looks like. Why? Second, look for the inner life of the characters. What are they wearing? Is there a difference between what they think and what they do or say? A description of inner thoughts is fairly infrequent, but an example occurs in 1 Samuel 1. We are told that Eli thinks that Hannah is drunk, but he does not say so. Again, in 1 Samuel 3, we are told what Eli understands when it says, "Then Eli realized that the Lord was calling the boy." A third way to develop characters is through speech and actions. While we are occasionally allowed inside the minds of characters, usually we learn about them by what they say and do. When Abraham is told to sacrifice Isaac, we are not allowed to learn his thoughts or even what he says to God or his wife, only that Abraham rose early in the morning, saddled his donkey, took his 2 servants with him, and his son. The lack of dialogue is deafening. Stay attentive to how you are learning about the characters. Are they talking or just doing? And what image does the method conjure in your mind? Finally, characterization is achieved through contrast. Within narrative, there are 3 types of contrast. First, contrast with another character. Second, contrast with an earlier action by the same character. And finally, third, contrast with the expected norm. The first is seen in the account of Nabal versus Abigail, where Nabal is said to be hard and evil while Abigail is intelligent and beautiful. Another example is the account of David and Uriah. David is the commander-in-chief, the all-powerful king, and is not able to get Uriah to sleep with his own wife. In addition, every moral action of Uriah points to the immorality of David. In a plot twist, it is Uriah who is killed despite David's immoral behavior. Examples of action against expectations occur for Saul, David, and Abigail. Be alert for how the narrator uses these moments. Turning to narration and dialogue. We now turn to explore the use of third-party narration and dialogue. When reading a narrative, first ask, whose point of view am I reading? Does the narrative convey any one character's view? Are the values or actions of one person followed? Second, keep in mind that the narrator is omniscient and always reliable. The narrator will not tell you a lie or lead you in the wrong direction. The narrator, like the director of a film, can speed the action forward or slow the action down, or even jump into the past to give us missing information. We only see what the narrator wants us to see, like a camera lens. Some facts are just out of view. Others are in focus. This ability to shift the camera view, which gives the reader a sense of multidimensional depth. In Genesis 22, the offering of Isaac, Abraham tells Isaac that they will return after the offering. The narrator told the reader that Abraham planned to offer Isaac. Therefore, is Abraham lying or faithful that God will provide a way to save his son? Third, the use of dialogue and narration gives the text a scenic quality. As such, the action is broken up into sequences of scenes. Each scene presents the happenings of a particular place and time, concentrating the attention of the audience on the deeds and the words of the characters. Fourth, biblical narration often includes irony. Irony occurs when we speak from one point of view, but make an evaluation from another point of view. Going back to Genesis 22, when Abraham reassures Isaac that God will provide a lamb for the sacrifice, we find tremendous irony in the dialogue. Abraham speaks from his point of view, and the reader assumes that Isaac hears from a different point of view. Actually, the irony here is double, because the narrator knows that God has a third point of view and will provide an offering, giving the text another point of irony. Finally, dialogue is the most dramatic way of conveying the character's psychological and ideological point of view. Narration is the vehicle for the narrator's point of view, or the way in which he may adopt the viewpoint of the character. It is not so much a question of whose point of view dominates, but the relationship between the two, narration and dialogue. The narrator can confirm the dialogue, clarify the dialogue, or provide a foil for irony. Stay alert for the interplay between third-party speech from the narrator and direct discourse from the characters. Ask, why is the narrator interjecting these comments to the reader? Also spend time exploring the word choices of the characters. Finally, what information is assumed and what is clarified? Remember that everything we are told is important. We have now explored several aspects of narrative development and how you might evaluate narrative biblical passages. Be sure to engage with each of the points described in these lectures this week when you create your assignment. Don't forget that the main goal is to better understand what God is trying to communicate through this passage to both the original hearer and us today. Good luck on your assignments. I hope they will be both rewarding and challenging. And have a blessed day.